contest is scheduled for OneFall.
This is OneFall. Welcome back to OneFall. As you can see, we are currently in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. It is WrestleMania weekend. I am Sam Hudson, and as always, I am joined by Jan Murphy. And for the first time, Jan, we are here together on the same screen.
Together. You are wearing all of your, Supermark stuff.
Yeet.
I'm keeping it a little bit more subtle with my retro Stone Cold Steve Austin tie and my, this is my media look.
I had a tie on this morning.
You did. You look good this morning, I must admit.
And I will look that way for SmackDown, but we went to WWE World as well, and we were pressed there as well, and I figured I should wear my Latino heat shirt. We're in Las Vegas, so of course, and I did buy these wonderful Yeet glasses. How are you not going to buy Yeet glasses at WWE World in Las Vegas?
Well, especially because they put them right there in little bins in the lineup.
They did.
Like impulse buy, like a chocolate bar at the grocery store, right?
Yeah. Jan went there for merch, and I wasn't sure what I was going to get because I'm going to be going back there tomorrow. But as you were saying, there was bins there, and I saw these wonderful gold WrestleMania Yeet glasses, and I couldn't not. But enough about that. Let's get into why we're here. I think most people know that OneFall is in Las Vegas for WrestleMania, and it is an exciting time. Almost too exciting, some would say. But yesterday was our travel day to come to Las Vegas. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Well, typically in the past, I've taken direct flights for a number of reasons because I'm not a great flyer. I don't love flying. It's not my favorite thing to do. It's uncomfortable. It's hot. It's long lineups. It's long waits of doing nothing. But anyway, we had connection yesterday. We had a great drive to Toronto from Kingston. We floated through security and customs and...
You quicker than me, but...
Me quicker than you because I have a Nexus card. And
I'm just a regular traveler. So.
I'm kind of old school at this. Best $50 you'll ever spend is if you travel a lot, get a Nexus card. It's $50 for 5 years. Bit of a process to get it, but you get to go through those quick lines, and everywhere I went yesterday, I floated through. However, as we waited for our first flight to Minneapolis, everyone's phones started going off, bing, 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 and everybody's like, whoa, there's a delay. And sure enough, they had bad weather in Minneapolis, and they were down a runway. So we were told that the flight would be about an hour delayed leaving to go to Vegas. Well, we didn't have a great window in there. We had about 2 hours. Mm-hmm.
There was another flight going to Vegas beforehand, which made us a little bit stressed out because there were other people that needed to go to Vegas that weren't sure if they'd make it.
Yeah, so we get in the line to get up and ask questions, and the girl said, "You're on the 409 flight. You should be okay." So we were like, "All right, we'll be okay." So they boarded us about 40 minutes late, probably by the time we started boarding. So it was about an hour late by the time we got aboard, and the pilot started to move the plane onto the runway, and the storm hit. And it was lightning, and it was torrential rain.
Well, that was our second one.
Sorry, yes. We landed...
We were on 2 flights yesterday.
That's right, we were on 2 flights. We landed without incident in Minnesota, about an hour behind schedule, as they said. The people who were on the flight, they had 23 minutes from the time we landed, and it still took another 15 to get on the tarmac up to the area where they stopped, and those people had to forego their flights.
It was pretty fun because when we were going through, you ran through with your Nexus pass, but while I was in line, I was wearing my CM Punk shirt because I'm going to WrestleMania. I'm going to represent my guy. And there was another guy in a CM Punk shirt that, we nodded and everything. And then while we were waiting for that flight, he ended up sitting near us. And of course, we started chatting. Lo and behold, we ended up sitting next to each other on that flight. So shout out, Austin. How you doing, man? It's just fun that wrestling brings strangers together, even in the strangest of times.
And I was sitting a little closer to the front. So our first flight, I had an aisle seat, which I like. But on our second flight, which was, we got there, we got to Minneapolis, we managed to get to the correct area to find our gate, and then we were hungry, so we said, let's go back and buy some snacks and stuff for the flight, because you never know.
You never know.
They don't give you a lot to eat on flights, like a little bag of peanuts. Here you go. Thank you.
I found out a way you can get snacks. We'll get into that later.
So we board this plane, and it seems like we're going to make good time, and we get on the tarmac, and the pilot, we're just sitting there, and finally the pilot comes on and says, there's some problems on the other end of Minneapolis with weather, there's turbulence.
Well, Jan's, like, as he's saying, we were literally about to go. We're on the runway. We were cleared for takeoff. You could hear the jet engines roaring, and then we saw those flashes.
Yeah. So we sat probably another 20 minutes. Pilot comes back on and says, we got out to the runway literally, and they told him to come back again. So we sat in all. It was about over an hour and 10,
it was a while.
An hour and 15 minutes from the time I boarded, maybe a little bit less for you, before we actually took off. So it was getting pretty hot in there and people were getting restless. I don't love traveling already, and I'm in a middle seat this time. For the first time in my flying life, I'm in a middle seat. Thankfully, it was two smaller gentlemen. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have been too happy.
No.
Finally, we take off. We're cleared. They tell us we're going to have to take a different route because the weather is bad. And so we're going to have to go south first and then sort of make our way west, which would add about 15 minutes to our landing time. So we start to sweat, things.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. Sitting there at one point wondering, oh my God, are they going to pull us back in and delay us again? This was the last flight out of Minneapolis to Vegas for the day. Finally, we take off. And
it was turbulent.
It was very turbulent. It was like a roller coaster at Wonderland. I don't love roller coasters. I'm old. I have never really been a roller coaster guy. I felt like I was green while we were getting up through this weather. Anyway, we finally get above the weather. We're sailing along. I'm watching a movie. I'm watching Back to the Future.
No, this is my turn.
Hold on. I'm watching Back to the Future. I'll let you reset this for us a little bit. But watching Back to the Future, and then I see the stewardess go to the front. And then she comes back, and she's looking right at me. And she comes to the seat, and she squats down. She's like, take my earbuds out. She's like, hi, sir. Are you on your way to WrestleMania? Yes, I am. And you have a friend here with you? Yes, I do. He's just.
Don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead.
I won't bury the lead.
So,
take it from here.
So, as Jan was saying, the first flight was a great experience. I made a friend, CM Punk, Austin, like I said. It was, everything is great. We made our first landing. We got some snacks. We're all ready to go. We took that photo of us on to Vegas and everything. And so we get on the flight, and then we're waiting. And then, we're up in the air, and it's super turbulent and everything. And it was incredibly warm in there because we were packed in there. There was a ton of people. We waited an hour longer than we're supposed to. But we're up in the air, and then I decided I needed to go use the washroom, and I don't usually use airplane washrooms because I'm a large human being, and that is a small tin closet.
Ridiculous.
And so I was like, okay, this is a longer flight, so let's go. So I stand up from my seat, and this is gonna sound strange, but I stand up from my seat, I start walking, and in my mind, I blinked, and all of a sudden I'm looking up, and there's 5 people staring over me because apparently I fainted on the flight to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. I fainted on a plane.
So
I'm okay. I just need to make that clear. I am okay.
So back to me, the stewardess tells me to take my earbuds out and says, you have a friend here. Well, he's fainted, she says. Now, he didn't want me to come and tell you this. His vitals are good. He says he's okay. But we are going to have to, when we land, we're going to have to get paramedics to look at him. They'll be waiting for us. So you and he are going to exit the plane first. And I'm like, wow, is he okay? And yeah, he seems to be fine, but we do need to check when we land to make sure that he's okay. So, okay. They proceed with the flight and we keep hearing these announcements.
There's 3 separate announcements where, just a reminder, everybody, there's going to be paramedics coming on board, so if you could stay in your seats, that would be one thing. And I'm sitting there just no, please stop. I don't need this.
So sure enough, when we eventually finally landed in Vegas, it was a long flight. Again, the weather was a little tough. The takeoff was really tough. The landing was very slow, I think, because of the weather. It was very windy. We land, we get up, and then a reminder, folks, please stay in your seats. We have paramedics on site to help a passenger. So you had to do the death walk from the back.
I did. Luckily I made people laugh because I'm good at making fun of myself. And so, of course, Jan and I are the first ones off the plane. And so as I'm carrying my bag out, I was like, yeah, some moron fainted on the flight or something. And I mean, honestly, I am truly okay. I didn't get a lot of sleep because I was so excited. This is my first WrestleMania, anyone that knows. And I didn't get a lot of sleep in anticipation in doing work beforehand. But yeah, I'm just walking over to the washroom, and then flash before my eyes, I'm staring at the ceiling. ceiling, and people are looking over me, and they checked my vitals like on my finger, and they're taking my blood pressure, and they're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm on a plane going to Las Vegas to see WrestleMania." They're like, "Do you know your seat?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's 30D." They're like, "Perfect, great." And I knew everything. I knew what was going on, and I just seemingly fainted. I think it was because I hadn't drank a lot of water while we were waiting on that flight, and I was exhausted and a pressure change. And I don't think I've ever fainted before, so it was a little alarming. I am going to go see a doctor when we're back home because we are Canadian and insurance is scary here in America, but I feel 100% and I am watching myself.
I did tell the stewardess, I'm like, well, he has had more caffeine than Juan Valdez today.
I had 2 coffees. And I did have a Red Bull.
Red Bull, that's right, yeah. So with no food and no sleep, that's a lot of caffeine.
We had Freshie.
That barely. Like you didn't have a lot of food. You had no sleep, and you had a bunch of caffeine.
I had 90 minutes, maybe.
I was like, yeah, he had no sleep and more coffee than Juan Valdez. But anyway, we got there. We waited, and our friend Steve picked us up, and we got back to the hotel. Pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
A long day of travel. I don't love travel days, and that's the first time I've connected, and probably the last.
We went to the Peppermill restaurant where the movie Martin Scorsese's Casino was filmed there. That was really cool to see. I'm a fan of that movie, so it was cool there. Decent food. It was nice.
Yeah, and then we shut her down because we had an early morning this morning for a media day.
And then this is where we go, OneFall.
When you come in to cover these WrestleManias, they do allow some of the media who are approved to come to participate in what they call Media Day. So they'll bring, it's changed a lot in the 10 years that I've been doing this. They used to bring quite a lot of us. They divide us by domestic media and international media. They would put us in rooms, large conference rooms at tables, and they would one by one bring back 10 years ago, sometimes it would be 15, 20 WWE stars, big ones, like all the big names, into the conference room. They'd sit you at the table. There'd be 4 or 5 media from your same country, maybe, or your same medium, newspaper, print, podcast, radio, TV, and they would bring them through to that table. You'd each get to ask 5 minutes worth of questions, which is plenty of time to get audio. Like 5 minutes is a lot in an interview.
Yeah.
Used to be very, very large. Over time and over, cuts in WWE and changing hands companies, it's changed a lot, and in the last few years in particular. So now it looks more like scrums. They bring you into a room, they break you into pods. You're standing there in front of a WWE backdrop, 5, 6, 8, 10 of you maybe, and then they bring a star there to stand there, and you kind of each get to go and ask a minute or 2, maybe 3 minutes on the high end worth of questions, and then they bring another one, and they bring another one. They try to get everyone to you. To their credit, they got a lot to us this morning. Who did we get to see this morning?
Well, it's fun because as Jane's been doing this is your 9th WrestleMania, and this was my 2nd press junket. There wasn't one for Elimination Chamber. This is my 3rd event working coverage here, and so we did do some Money in the Bank. I mainly was filming and recording for you. Elimination Chamber, like I said, didn't have anything, but this time we actually got to go, and I actually got to interview as well. I know this is all old business for you, Jan, but it's exciting for me. But you and I both had a chance to interview the World Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders.
Yep.
You interviewed Stephanie Vaquer, NXT Women's Champion. We both interviewed NXT North American Champion Ricky Saints, and then Carlito was unfortunately pulled right as we were about to interview him, and you also got to ask Gunther a question, World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, before his match with Jey Uso tomorrow night at WrestleMania 41 at Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas. Yeah,
so we were fortunate to partake in that this morning. That's always fun. It's always kind of, a good way to kick everything off, because Fridays are always and have always been the busiest day of the, WrestleMania media experience. So we finished that this morning. Then we went and got our credentials, which we have here for WWE World, and it was kind of like...
Well, before we get to WWE World, why don't we... OneFall is produced in part by Jaybird Digital Arts. Looking for top quality graphic design? Then look no further than Jason Reese and Jaybird Digital Arts. Musicians, business owners, performers, event promoters, athletes, or a professional wrestler. Or maybe you're just someone in need of expert photo editing and design work. You need a graphic designer who can bring your vision to life. So once again, let me introduce you to Jason Reese of Jaybird Digital Arts. Logos, t-shirts, stickers, business cards, flyers, social media graphics, photo editing, print ads. He's skilled, he's creative, and he's reliable. Jay takes the time to understand your style and creates designs that truly represent you, whether it's for your brand, event, or a personal project. He consistently delivers work that gets noticed. Jaybird logos are seen everywhere, from Chinlock Wrestling's logos and posters, t-shirts, and even here with the OneFall logo. I can't recommend him enough. His service, creativity, and attention to detail are a cut above the rest. Visit jaybirddigitalarts.com or email jaybird.digitalarts@gmail.com to get started today. That's jaybirddigitalarts.com or email jaybird.digitalarts@gmail.com and tell him OneFall sent you. And just remember, his business looks good when your business looks good.
OneFall.
We did get a chance to go to WWE World, and boy, did I enjoy myself. I am a purveyor of Fan Expo back home in Toronto, which is all comic book convention stuff. This was WWE Fan Expo. I don't even want to be here recording OneFall because I want to be back at WWE World.
Just before we do that, set the stage a little bit. We're in Vegas, so everything is slot machines and crap tables and gambling, everything. The hotel, the main floor where you come in, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of slot machines. I finally found the Willy Wonka one.
We heard the Oompa Loompa song.
We heard the Oompa Loompa song. And you can smoke in these casinos here, much different than in Canada. And I'm a cigar lover, so I like to have a cigar. So I found myself for the first few times we were coming in and out of the hotel, putting my cigar out before we come in. And Sam kept saying, "You don't have to do that," and I'm like, it feels wrong.
It's Sin City.
It feels wrong. So finally, I just kicked it. Now, you walk through the hotel smoking a cigar, it's strange. It's still very strange to me. So before we went to WWE World, we went to a couple of the different casinos, and they're everywhere. They're in convenience stores, they're in restaurants, they're everywhere.
They're in the airport right when you get off the plane.
They're in the airport when you get off the plane. So for me, it's wow, this is kind of cool. And for me, going to WWE World is meh, been there, done it 9 times now.
Which is funny because it's kind of reversed. It's I love WWE and the press stuff is all new and Vegas is new for you, whereas this is my third time in Vegas and all the slots and smoking inside is all new for you.
I'm trying to tell myself and remind myself that I was Sam 9 years ago when I started coming. I think the first one I did was in Santa Clara, San Jose, when they had, WrestleMania 31?
Brock and Roman in the main event?
Yeah. Now, my first WrestleMania was 18, which was coincidentally the first time they did the fan access experience.
Yeah.
Very, very cool at that time. I remember Stone Cold was at a table, and in those days, you didn't have to buy a ridiculously expensive ticket and then jump in a lineup of hundreds. They were much more controlled, and I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe you had to buy a crazy extra tickets. I think if you bought the ticket to come to the fan access, if they were at the table, you could get in that line and go. And I don't remember the lines being that chaotic, but they may well have been. What I do remember is they had the Big Show's hand there, and it was it was crazy. And they had Andre the Giant stuff over the years and various different things. But anyway, we go to WWE World, and I knew Sam was gonna blow his mind when he walked through the doors. And I'm just I got to get over and get a T-shirt because I know how it works. Thursday, you'll have a shot at buying everything. By midday Friday, they're starting to run out of sizes, and they've run out of all the exclusives and things like that. So we were late getting in yesterday, so we didn't make it there last night. And then we had the junket this morning, so we just got there a few hours ago, and I was right. And I'm trying to find T-shirts, and I'm like, my God, nothing left in XL. Oh, they're out of the John Cena figure. They're out of this. And they have this poker set that comes in a Money in the Bank type briefcase. Yeah. For $300. They had 3 of those left. Custom hats.
From Lids.
Yeah, they did that last year in Philly for the first time. So I'm over there scrambling. I'm texting friends hey, you want anything? This, that, and the other. They're out of this. They're out of that. And meanwhile, Sam's
Listen, you don't understand. When you walk in, they have not all, but they have a bunch of the former WrestleMania signs. So they had the WrestleMania 36 or 37, I guess, the COVID WrestleMania with the pirate. They had the WrestleMania 29 sign, the WrestleMania 20, 21. They have all these different things. They had The Rock, but when he set his name on fire at the one WrestleMania there, they had all this stuff, and you're just walking
just inside the door.
Yeah, that's just the walkway.
It's at a convention center, right? This thing's this huge.
Yeah, and you go in, and there's stuff stuff everywhere. They had WWE 2K25 there. I am a fan of that series. They had Roman Reigns statue from the Island of Relevancy within the game. They were doing tournaments, which I didn't take part of. I didn't want to ruin some kid's day because I absolutely would have.
They had Shawn Michaels' show that he had, the set for his show.
That's right, yeah. Pat McAfee's show was we didn't see them. We got there after, but the set was still there. They had a ring going on. They were filming NXT matches.
NXT matches. They had the Tops experience. You could go and get a card made. Busted Open was having a live show. We went over and talked to Tommy Dreamer and Dave. And
if you are on this page, you've probably seen, but it's all over the Facebook page. We have a ton of coverage from WWE World on there, tons of pictures and videos, and of course we have this as well. But you actually spoke to Tommy Dreamer quickly.
I did. Good friend of mine, and had a chance to speak with him for a minute. And Dave LaGreca came over and said hello. I know both of those guys from Dreamer way back, but LaGreca through Dreamer. And we were coming out of Fan World, and someone says, hey, you're Jan Murphy from Chinlock Wrestling. A friend of mine literally just sent me your photo and said, say hi to this guy if you see him. And he saw us within 5 minutes.
Brian Barron, friend of the show, sent the photo of you and I this morning from the press junket saying, if you see both of these guys, try and say hi. And then quite literal moments later, we walked out of WWE World. And how many people are in WWE World in Las Vegas?
50,000 people in there right now.
The odds of that are astronomically low, but it's Vegas. You can win big in Vegas.
So when Clark Griswold drove across the country to take his family to Wally World, that's what it was like walking with Sam. If Steve had died on the way, Sam would have just strapped him to the roof of the car, and we would have carried on to Wally World, worried about the dead body later. This is the experience. This is what it was like.
The reason I didn't talk to Tommy Dreamer is because I was running around looking at all the cool things, taking pictures for OneFall.
Your ADHD kicked in.
I don't have ADHD. I just really, really like wrestling. That's all it is.
You couldn't stay 5 more minutes and get to meet Dreamer.
I could have, but there was a gap because when we walked in that entranceway, I was trying to get photos, but there were so many people walking in that it was just impossible. And while they were doing that segment on Busted Open, I looked over and it wasn't that busy, so I thought that would be the best option to go get those photos.
You remember when Garfield, he'd be doing something and then someone would pull a lasagna out of the oven and that's like Sam floats away.
Yeah. Mattel was there with all their action figures, upcoming action figures. Took pictures of every single one of those. I haven't collected WWE action figures in quite some time, but in a previous life, I had quite a few of them.
The Dom Mysterio one was really cool.
That was the best one for sure. And the Roman Reigns one, they had this cool champion set. It had Bruno Sammartino, Ultimate Warrior, John Cena, and Roman Reigns, and it's them with their belts. And John Cena's little toy championship belt actually had a spinner in it as well. And it's just cool to see. It's the best thing I can say is that it relates to is Fan Expo, but it's all just WWE based. And they even had some UFC stuff, obviously, under the TKO umbrella. It was just cool to see WWE really take over Las Vegas in the way they have, because Las Vegas is Las Vegas. It's the entertainment capital of the world.
There's custom WWE crap tables.
Yeah. There's WrestleMania blackjack, and they have tons of it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, they have
signs. They have places you can take photos with belts.
Yeah.
Hogan's Beer.
When we got off, the luggage carousel had a championship on there as well. And it's just the entertainment capital of the world is Las Vegas, but it is WrestleMania in Las Vegas.
Elimination Chamber cells are here.
War Games.
War Games. Yeah. War Games cells are here, and it's. I mean, again, trying to remind myself when you're having this experience that I was like that, 10 years ago, right? When I showed up and they had a ring set up in there and Paul Heyman was there. That's where that famous photo of Paul Heyman giving me the dirty look, right? That was at a media junket inside the World where they, have all that stuff. Well,
it's just funny how life can come back around like that, because I distinctly remember when you were at that trip, and you and I were still relatively new friends at that time, and I was just getting out of college or becoming a professional in the world, and I joked about potentially coming with you one day to these events, and it's just funny. Look at us, we're recording OneFall in Las Vegas in our hotel room right now, so life is mysterious.
Yeah, we're going to try and bring Natty. Going to try and come on and do a podcast with us maybe tomorrow. Maybe Tommy Dreamer too, if his schedule allows it. But Friday's not even half over for us. I mean, we've done the junket, we've done the World experience. In about 20 minutes, we're going to head out for
Friday Night SmackDown. John Cena's here tonight too.
John Cena is here tonight, and then when that ends, there's a little bit of a gap, and we come back here to the hotel where we'll go to the Hall of Fame ceremony. And then we've been invited, if we're still on our feet, to go to a wrestling show over by the airport.
We ran into 2 wrestlers. He noticed my Latino heat.
A midnight show. So
yeah. You never know. It's Las
Vegas. It's a city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
Right? Sin City, it never sleeps here.
I mean, Sin City does not sleep. That is correct. But yeah, there's always something going on. And then tomorrow there's NXT Stand and Deliver. And then, of course, there's WrestleMania Night 1. Sunday we have WrestleMania Night 2. It's just nonstop here in Las Vegas. And there is still a ton to go.
And then we got that travel home with a connection again. Ugh.
I would like to stand on my feet the entire flight, both of them this time.
Can you try not to faint on this flight?
I'll do my best, but, you know, I think there's less excitement going home from WrestleMania, but, you know, this is your 9th WrestleMania, first with Santa Clara. My first WrestleMania is tomorrow, and so I am incredibly excited for it, and I think that was part of it. Pressure changes, excitement, not enough sleep. Make sure you drink your water and sleep before your flight, trust me.
Juan Valdez.
Well, I think that's good for our first episode, and I assume we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with Natty or Dreamer, if schedules allow it, but we just wanted to do a quick update on what we've been doing up in Las Vegas, and I guess we'll be back tomorrow, I guess. Thanks for listening to OneFall. We'll be back soon.